folks. Welcome to another edition of Open Mic. Today we have level 4 CrossFit trainer, one of only 3 in Australia, Flowmaster on the level 1 and 2 seminar team, of which he has taught over 250. He owns his own affiliate and has been instrumental in setting up and helping a number of other affiliates in the community. And he's been around since the very first CrossFit Open and well beyond that. In fact, he's seen it all in CrossFit. Of course, referring to Mr. Brett Fforde. Brett, welcome.
Thanks, Ed. How are you doing?
Doing good, mate. Probably not as well as you up in the Sunshine Coast.
I know, it's probably not topical to talk about how you guys have a new case and stuff like that. So let's put that to the side.
Yeah, let's press straight on, mate. Now, I'm very conscious of your time, so we'll get stuck in. Brett, thanks for joining us. We're going to tackle some issues today about the CrossFit Open, and the goal of this or these interviews is to better help our community with some of the sticking points that they might find in the Open when they run it. And we're going to cover a range of topics, but today with yourself, we're going to tackle some of the logistical pieces of the Open that can sometimes be challenging for trainers, coaches, and affiliate owners alike. And then some of these things have simple answers and others have more complex ones. And then we'll also discuss some of the approaches that coaches might have to take when coaching different types of athletes in the Open. I'm going to start with a question without notice, which is probably not good form as the interviewer. I've heard you often talk about on level 1 and 2 seminars, CrossFit the sport and then CrossFit the training program. Is it important that people are able to distinguish those two things when they come into the Open to coach athletes or maybe even just perform in the Open?
I'm just looking at the questions you sent me, and that's not the first one. So this is excellent. Mate, I like to talk ad lib on stuff. So yes, I think that's really important. I think it's important for athletes as well as it's important for coaches. And I think that the sport of CrossFit is a phenomenal thing that has brought way more people into what we do than the strength conditioning system ever would. And at the same time, it also sometimes is a double-edged sword and can lead people to misconceptions about what CrossFit is or what it does to people. So I think straight off the bat, we should remember that playing CrossFit, the sport, is great fun. And that shouldn't be something I think that everybody should do all the time. When it comes to the Open, I encourage as many people as possible to play. And it'll revitalize their passion, hopefully, for practicing and for training and getting skills for the next time that they play. But I genuinely, as we've talked about, think it's a flaw in execution to play every day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we'll probably return to this topic, but that's a really nice, distinction to make, the difference between practice and play, and seeing the Open as certainly the play time, if you will. Okay, just to make you more comfortable, let's return to the topics that I told you that I'd ask you about.
Yeah.
First of all, we're going to talk about some logistical things, and I'd like to know, being an affiliate owner who's run the Open, do you run the Open like a traditional class, or do you run it as some sort of special event when you do run the Open at the box?
Generally, in my experience, I've played around in CrossFit Townsville, CrossFit Brisbane, and this is going to be the first year we've ever run it here at CrossFit Sisyphus, but also done it at CrossFit Mooloolaba. Generally, there's an event, and then to create some consistency and also some community buy-in, we'll have the workout of the day that the event is on is also that workout. So for example, if it's on a Friday night, as often happens, the Friday night lights, if we can have the whole day being the Open workout, then people can choose whether they want to do it as a spectator event in the heats, or whether they just do it in one of the other classes of the day. That often depends on when the workout's released, the logistical requirements. But yeah, I think for mine, to maintain the sense of community, it's important that people get access to it in a regular class environment as well.
When we're talking about the timing of the release of the Open workouts, most years, and this year it would appear to be no different. The Friday morning, we don't know what the workout is, but
Yeah.
by lunchtime we do. How do you somewhat account for that?
There's a number of ways that I've watched happen, and I quite like some, even though they perhaps aren't the most effective. So say you're going to do Friday night lights. We steal from that American football term, but it worked out really well in CrossFit Townsville, where everyone knew Friday night lights, you're coming in, it sort of jumps to one of your later questions. People come in and have a go, and then you finish off with beta or strict or someone who's really going to crush it, them doing it last. So that's your elite heat. And people sort of aspiring to maybe want to be near that elite heat and see how they go against those good guys. But it presents a conundrum, I guess, for what do you do for the earlier classes where you don't know the workout. And a really fantastic, and same for Thursday, right? So if you don't know what Friday is going to be, what do you program for Thursday? And I think some simple and really effective programming that isn't well received is the idea of like goat training. So, you know, work on your goat. What's the thing you least want to see come up in the open? All right, we can do multiple sets of double under practice, some rings practice, some some huff and puff stuff that's not likely to leave you super sore. Like that stuff's really valuable when you don't know what's coming up and leaves you lots of opportunities for any workout. Problem is people don't like to come in on those days, which is really sort of a bit of a bummer.
So what would you do then around, I see there's 2 points of education there for the members. One, you can come in on Thursday and work on this stuff and it potentially won't leave you in a poor spot to perform on Friday. And,
Yep.
and two, you know, that idea of you've got to train those weaknesses. Do you communicate that with members explicitly?
Yeah. I guess one of the things that I always play with, and you know this from work with me, I'm big on making sure people know why they're doing something rather than just them saying we did it because you said. That said, another one of my favorite sayings is be prescriptive rather than descriptive. And I think that when we're descriptive, people don't pay for that. They don't pay to have you go, hey guys, we should come in and do something that's good for you, that doesn't make you sore, and here's some options. You choose. And we go, far out. We almost saw it. Far out. We gave people every opportunity and informed them well. How come they're not coming in? They want to get told, hey, so you know what? Today's workout is this. It's 5 rounds, not for time. Holding the slowest handstand push-up you can for less than 5 reps. We know that's position practice rather than creating muscle soreness. You're going to get on and nasal breathe on a machine for 2 minutes, and that'll reduce the intensity as well. And go, oh, that was good. I feel ready to go for anything. And by it being a prescriptive workout, more people will sign up and do it, even though it's pretty much the same as do whatever you want, as long as it doesn't make you sore and sets you up in a better place for tomorrow's open workout.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I'm going to not throw you under the bus here, but we at our affiliate were looking yesterday for what to program on the Thursday before the Open for week 1 at least. Would you have already thought about that type of thing, or will you sort of gauge it based on how the week looks, or perhaps you're waiting for more information about what might be in the first workout? Where are you guys at with that stuff?
We really just program about 2 weeks ahead. So we have a week that we're pretty comfortable with and a week that we're working on. So it's not really in our programming cycle. Definitely, we're both thinking about it and talking about it, but not in I run the affiliate with Benson, a business partner, but we haven't come up with any ideas yet. But we sort of both have had similar experiences with the Thursday workout. So it's, we've tossed around ideas around one of those sort of skills practice days, which in itself, I mean, any programmer knows that they're a phenomenal and useful thing that will scare off everybody who is going to come into the gym. So we've still got to put a name on a workout. We've still got to give it some parameters and still have aspects to it that people feel challenged by, that they can communicate with each other. Oh, did you try that workout? Where did you see, when we did those front lever practices, I've never done those before and they were really tough. Like those are the buy-in pieces that have more people turn up to your later classes, I guess.
Yeah.
And next week, then you program something similar.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to flip gears a little bit to something which is a little bit more objective. How do you structure the warm-up scenario in those open classes? Because for most people, I mean, anyone participating in the open needs a judge, and typically most affiliates will split the class in 2 and have one person judge the other, unless they're fortunate to not have enough people just hanging around who just want to judge. How does that affect the way that people warm up at the affiliate?
I love this question because it's something that I've really thought about, and I've got some of your other questions that coming up ahead that I think create a hurdle for us in the respect to we love the open because it lets us compete side by side with everybody around the world regardless of level. But we know that perhaps that's not the case. That we're not really working on a level playing ground. If a playing field, if you have a class of 20 people that you've split up into 4 heats. As the affiliate owner, like I've done so many open workouts where it's like you're the last wave, you facilitated the whole thing, and then you roll your shoulders over twice and you punch out a score, and you're like, oh well, that'll do me. But there's no way that's the optimal warm up for that workout. And at the same time, we sort of bear that burden with a little bit of pride, I guess, that we have the capacity to work out on a moment's notice. And I like the old adage, even though it's not particularly useful a lot of the time, that, you know, a cheetah doesn't warm up before it runs down the gazelle, it just goes. And that ready state is really cool if you can have it regardless of the open workout. You're like, I can warm up in a couple of minutes and then put up a score that I'm reasonably happy with. That, I would happily say that's a cool definition of fitness. We have a duty of care, though, over our people to ensure that they're adequately warmed up and that their score reflects their fitness, not their fitness with no warm-up. So what I'll often do is brief everybody on a warm-up and suggest that if their wave isn't, or if their wave's coming up, so we sort of usually have more than 2 waves. We usually have 2 or 3 waves, and you've got the wave that's warming up, then you've got the wave that's working out, and then you've got the other wave that's counting for them. So I guess that's the way we'd attack it. Unfortunately, those warm-ups are often individually administered, so they're not as group-led. If you had more staff, I guess you could have someone consistently on hand to warm people up. You'll find that your deputised, senior or experienced members will help out the less experienced as they're warming up. And that's how we get around it. It's definitely not optimal. And the comparison, I suppose, is what elite athletes are doing, following guidance from elite coaches. Having a 30 to 40 minute warm up for these 7-minute workouts is much more what the best case scenario is.
For that reason, do you try to keep the warm ups fairly simple, given that you understand resources on coaches are spread quite thin during the open day?
Absolutely. I mean, what's the simplest warm up? You look at the workout, it's box jumps, deadlifts, and push press. This is how many boxes I need to maximize my heats. It's unlikely that you're going to have boxes that you can just put outside ready for people to do their own box jumps on. So you might ride in some tuck jumps, you might ride in some plate jumps.
Yep.
If you've got spare barbells, that's good because people can work up to it. Otherwise, you have to factor into your first wave that you're going to have some reps that happen, and then maybe calibrate your coach, your judges, and then boom, you're away. But yeah, super simple warm-ups is generally. And here's the thing that I've experienced is that, and we've both played in this space where we often invest a lot of time and energy in trying to create drills that assist people in picking up newer movements or prime their body for best case scenarios, whether it's activation drills or coordination drills. If you give that stuff to people while they're stressing out about maxing out on what is a relatively simple workout, they generally just don't do it. Especially in a self-led environment. I've written up so many phenomenal warm-ups. You look out the window at what people are up to and they just stand around, wiggling their shoulders and deciding like, oh, I'm just saving myself for that first round. So
sure, that makes sense. And let's turn our attention to some coaching questions whilst the workout is on is a fair way to put it. This is a challenging question, and I'm sure it will be dependent on the athlete in front of you. But what are your thoughts on people who are in between 2 categories? Let's say they could RX the open workout but perform very little work, or they could choose the scaled workout and get a good workout and probably get more the intended stimulus of the workout. What type of conversations do you have with that athlete?
The first one's obvious. I hope it's obvious, and that's, what does the athlete want to get out of that visit to the gym? Like if they really want to get a score on the board and see where they're at, then that's what they should do. And it's never our place, despite our best intentions, to go, no, you shouldn't do that, because they're just going to have a bad taste in their mouth. And personal experience, I was lucky, and I think I'm lucky enough to have been in all the opens except I think 2019, the first one, I was pretty crook, so I didn't really do many of the workouts. But so even if you've got a data point that says you got 1 double under in 11.1, then when the next to 11.1, you go, hey, I finished all the double unders, that's an improvement. And if that person asks me that question and I fire back to them, what do you want? And they want both, I would say, hey, jump in, do the workout, get a score. And then if you can fall back into a later heat and do the workout and get a good workout, then you've ticked both boxes for the day. Especially on one of those workouts where maybe they know they're not going to pass a certain point. Like a lot of open workouts are phenomenal tests, but they're not phenomenal workouts.
Yeah, I certainly understand what you mean. So you're talking something like I believe it was 19.2 and 16.2, which is double unders, toes to bar, and cleans It's toes to bar first, actually, I believe. There's a good chance the athlete might not get through the first round, which means they're not going to get more than 4 minutes of work in. So perhaps they get a score for that, and then they get to do the scaled version afterwards. Is that the type of interpretation that you might do for that workout?
And that's exactly right. That's exactly what I say. And everyone's different. You know, perhaps that was me, 4 minutes. I'm like, sweet, I only have to do 4 minutes of work today, and I can worry about whether I work out again tomorrow, because I work on a premise. My personal goal is to do something as often as I can. If sometimes that's a 3-minute piece, and I feel happy that I've met my physical activity goal for the day, then so be it. But if someone's come in and they're looking at it as I'm a member, I want value for money, then you give them a double tap at that thing, provided it's not logistically too aggressive on your staff and manpower and so forth.
Absolutely, that makes sense.
Can I go again? Can I go again before you know it? It's till midnight.
Well, that's if everyone wants to go again, and hopefully after open workouts they don't. Okay, that actually is a perfect segue to sort of moving towards our last questions now. Challenges on people wanting to do redos. Have you got a strong view on if people should or shouldn't, and if they are allowed to, is there a criteria that you would want them to hit before they sort of attempt a second attempt at an open workout?
I mean, as a massive caveat, I guess it's easy for me to talk about stuff, and I might operate in a totally different fashion when the rubber hits the road. So for mine, redos academically, I think are a fantastic idea and a terrible idea. So I come from an exercise science background, and if any test is done, there's a retest improvement that comes as a function of you getting better at the test, which isn't you being fitter, right? And that's the first caveat. If I was going to lay down a caveat, someone's like, I want to do a redo. I'm like, cool, what are you going to do differently?
Sure.
And if they said, I've learnt that, and the first time I tried to go unbroken on the muscle ups, I went unbroken and then had nothing. So I'd break my muscle ups. I'm like, cool, you have a new strategy. I'm excited, as you should be, to see how this new strategy plays out. But if they're like, I just think I'm fitter than that, and I'm going to do exactly the same thing, well, I'm like, well, I think you're wasting your time, because there's a good chance that you do a redo and you get exactly the same score, maybe a lesser score. And it seems silly to roll the dice saying, I'm going to roll 2 dice and I think I'm going to get an 11. I'm like, all right, what are you going to do different? Is the angle of the roll? Like, no, I'm just going to keep chucking them until I get 11. That's pointless. But if you have a particular strategy to redo an open workout, I would encourage it wholeheartedly. So that's the academic side of it for mine. And then the flip side of that is logistically, as an affiliate owner or as a coach, it can be really taxing to try to come in and be like, can I do it on Saturday? Can I do it before the workout on Monday? Can I do it after the workout on Monday? Can I do it on Sunday? And you're like, before you know it, for the open, you're going to be working flat stick from open release through to score submission. You can almost anticipate any rest time you'd previously allocated might be gone. To that end, I'm pretty stoked about the new format, where it's a 3-week format over a 5-week format. I'm really excited to see how that pans out. I think open fatigue for coaches is probably going to be offset a little bit because of that, which I think is going to be exciting.
Yeah, that makes sense, and I think the excitement of the Open is prevalent throughout all the weeks of the Open, but to condense it into the 3 weeks, I think we're probably going to get more excitement, or the same amount that we got in 5 weeks, but just push together in the 3. Last question. Go ahead, Brett.
I disagree just a tiny bit. Is that the excitement of the Open wanes for sure? Like week 1, everyone's itching at the bit to see what the workout release is. They have a great experience, and week 2, they love that as well. And I think week 3 is the final week is fantastic, because traditionally they do week 3 and then you're like, we'll be doing this again next week, and week 4, and they're like, wow, we're still doing that open thing. Like, I think it definitely dwindles. Week 4 is often a bit of a dead week, and then week 5 is a bit of a pickup because everyone's waiting for the thrusters and they know it's the last week, and it's I think 3 is going to be cool.
Well, I will look back and chat to you about this after the 3 weeks, and we can see who was correct in terms of the excitement phase. Now, speaking of excitement, this is my last question for you. We've briefly touched on it. This idea of having, let's call it an elite heat, or the best heat in your gym. Take the best athletes, put them in almost like a showcase heat, if you will, typically as the last heat of the Open. what are the positives of that, and what are the potential drawbacks, and therefore the arguments to potentially just get those people to do it in any old heat, if there are any? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think this is it's an interesting idea, and we've both probably read a lot of the same books, and the equivalency of outcome is impossible. Like, not everybody gets to get the same score, and that's what we like about it. We're very much around, if you're the fittest, you will rise to the top. But the equivalency of opportunity is the thing that's often touted as fairness. Does everybody get the same opportunity to do the workout? And what I really like the idea of is your elite athletes jumping into a heat next to Joe Blow and putting up an amazing score, rather than requiring these perfect scenarios where they have two boxes on either side of their feet so that they can grab the bar, not have to jump, then head into their muscle ups, and, you know, chalk positioned at exactly the right intervals, the rower on an angle so they can step out of it into the wall ball. Like, these things don't happen if you're running a heat of 5 to 20 people. They just don't happen, because logistically you can't make it happen. And interestingly, that's where another part of my redo opportunity thing comes. If you've got anyone in your gym who has stepped up and done the workout, they're elite, they've got a good chance of qualifying for the next round, but they did the workout with everybody else and they didn't quite get the score they wanted. They watch online and there's 7 or 8 different hacks that perhaps can shave some time, and they want to implement them all, and you open up on a Sunday for that person. I feel like you've got to do that for every person. And that's not that bad. Like, I guess for 3 weeks, you can maybe take it on the chin and just realize that's part of our job. But yeah, I think it does suck if just because somebody's going to make it, has a good chance of making it, they get a special opportunity to do this better workout. And it also biases your data points. Who's the fittest in the gym? Oh, it's Ed. Yeah, but Ed got that score with all these special caveats that were allowed to him, and everyone else did it in the workout. Like, that's performance enhancing scenario, I reckon.
For the record, I wouldn't do that, but just
For
so
the record, you probably would.
Is there an argument though, Brett, that the person who has more on the line because they want to qualify for that next round, like they've put more hours of training in, this is a bigger part of their life, their goals in relation to the Open are bigger, and therefore it somewhat justifies having a scenario where they can get that best score? Now, I'm posing that question to you.
I don't want to have that discussion with someone. I'm not ranking somebody's value and the efforts that they've put in, or how much energy that they've paid the same entry fee for the Open. They are still a member of your gym in the same way. I feel like I'm not confident telling someone you haven't got as much skin in the game as this person has. Excuse me. That's
the life of an affiliate owner.
Yeah. That was my mum. That was my mum. She said she wants to redo all the Open workouts.
Well, get her in. She's definitely got skin in the game. Brett, it's been a pleasure.
I think that's a really cool question, and we know certain individuals that will redo. They'll redo multiple times. Baden Brown, who I feel comfortable talking about because I've worked closely with CrossFit Townsville. He had a lot of skin in the game, and Strick would leave that gym open. If he wants to redo it, as he did sometimes when he was crook, he redid workouts 3 or 4 times to climb 2 or 3 spots to ensure that he stayed in contention to win the Australia Open. So there's validity for it. For some people, it doesn't make any sense, and that's a coaching conversation. Say, if you redo this workout, the total volume of wall balls is going to take you to 450 wall balls in 3 days.
Yeah, you
have never done that training volume. It's not conducive to you going forward. But the difference between someone like Beto and someone who's still pretty hot, they're doing extras, they're training lots of hours. You could say, hey, you've never been to the games. That's a pretty average metric on which you're allowed to have access to more at the gym than someone else.
Yeah, that's I really appreciate your viewpoint on that. It's definitely given, I'm sure they get a lot of people something to think about. Brett, is there anything else that you'd like to share with the community? Anything that we haven't touched on before I let you go, conscious of your time and obviously your mum calling?
Yeah, all right. I don't know. I think I'm excited about the Open. I like the Open every year. I guess, as we talked about, it's a really cool opportunity for everybody to get connected with the grassroots idea of CrossFit. We're forging elite fitness, and we can test that against anyone in the world who wants to throw their hat in the ring. This is an opportunity for our new owners to try and encourage maximum participation. And this year we're shooting for the most participation we've ever had. And to that end, we've got multiple divisions. And I think as affiliate owners, it's important that we get across the divisions and make sure that we're taking a duty of care over our people as we encourage them to enter the Open. And then if you've encouraged people to enter the Open, then you've got a responsibility to look after them in the Open. That's probably my biggest gripe, is you watch people shooting hard for maximum participation, and then when people turn up, you're like, oh, why is this person here? They shouldn't even be doing it. Like, you told them that they should sign up. So if you get them in there, you look after them.
I reckon that's some excellent parting words. Brett, always thankful for your time, and I will see you in the Open.